guest of honor for this evening, Shri R.P. Singh ji, the organizers, on behalf of the Aegis, some of the most techno-savvy brains present in this august audience, the award winners this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have to at the outset thank you. Thank you for 2 or 3 accounts. That I was almost about to miss this event, but for our very dear friend and well-wisher R.P. Singh ji. When I received the communication, I actually could not place it, which is my fault. I should have known you doing such a good work over here. And that was out of my ignorance. Then R.P. Singh ji intervened. I also have to thank you because this is not only a reflection of the wide range of work, the wide range of a talent hunt being done by you, but also it unfolds yet another facet of R.P. Singh ji's personality. He's always been an innovator himself, and he also innovates individuals, which we see over here. And I also have to thank you of giving me the glimpse of this beautiful model of the trophy, which I think even Alexander Graham Bell would have been proud of if he was around today. It's so beautifully and befittingly designed. And another thing which Graham Bell would not have known about it is, because that happened a little later after him, that for my generation, maybe a generation preceding me, this also has a nostalgic value. It reminds you of quite a few romantic songs from the 1950s, where you would find a hero singing into, a heroine's ears through this 2 handset and that black and white era. Having said that, one thing that makes me feel proud this evening is that there is before us the real personification of the dream of Startup India, Stand-up India laid before us by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. And when I was listening to the citations and the kind of inventions and creations made by them, I thought I had every reason to believe that, look here, we were actually already starting up and already standing up. And that is something that I have to compliment you about. This is also, I think, one of the best times happening in India. One of the best times happening in India, not because I have been made a minister. You would say, aapko mantri bana diya, acha samay aa gaya. But because we have in place a government and a prime minister who is always supportive, who is always encourages, and who always patronizes out-of-box ideas, experimentations with a positive outlook, and also experimentations with a futuristic vision. And in addition to that, he has a natural scientific temper. And therefore, he's extraordinarily stimulated by any new scientific idea that he comes across from whoever it is. And therefore, you have an opportunity to develop this talent, to proceed further in your journey of innovation, and also become a participant, or shall I say architects, in India's ascent to become a world power. Because this is the generation, because some of us may not be around, but in the next few years, when India rises to become a world power which is quite imminent now, you would have the pride of being a participant in that ascent. And I think that is your privilege. My only, I would not say advice, because when you grow old, you develop the habit of giving advice, which is sometimes unsolicited. So when I was young, I never entertained unsolicited advice, and I would not impose that. But I think sometimes we have to learn and to make the best use of the new things happening around us. We have to sometimes unlearn what we have been taught over the years. Maybe also to unlearn the mindsets that have developed. The other day when I was in IIT, I was telling the boys over there, I said, you are the best ambassadors of Startup India. If only you stop becoming job seekers and become job creators. It's very simple. And that once it goes into your mind. And otherwise what is happening is that every year out of the first 20 toppers of civil services, you have the IITians. At least 4 or 5 of them. And that is why now we have also decided to revisit the entire syllabus so that we can hold back these IITians from becoming IAS officers so that they can produce more and more of inventions over here. So you do an IIT, hold a degree, and you just inadvertently lose out your potential somewhere else because you find an easy course in life. And that is something that you would have to actually overcome. And I think you, as young achievers, could also educate the other youngsters who are young aspirants. And more than that, you could also educate the parents of these young aspirants. Because it's the parents who actually start this corrupting influence soon after the child passes out of class 10. They start teaching him all that Kota, Akash, Sachdeva, Mukherjee Nagar, Baji Rao Institute, all those things. And they lose out on all this. Briefly, when I was holding the charge of science and technology just for about 3 or 4 months, in my own humble way, I tried to do a small experiment. We picked up about 20 boys and girls around the high school level. And we sent them for an internship for a few weeks abroad with some of the Nobel laureates, most of them from the field of medicine because that is the circle I was moving in. And when they came back, we thought we would just interact with them, and I told my colleagues in the department, most of them scientists, that even if they have learned something or not, their experience would help us to learn. And when they were narrating their experience, one of the boys from class 6 in Bengaluru, he told me, sir, I have learned and I'm very glad about what I am doing, the kind of innovation that I am coming out with. But my only problem is that a lot of my time is being taken up by this inconsequential homework. So I said, look here, we have hit the bull in the eye. Now this is, the parents have to be taught and the teachers have to be taught. So it's inadvertently we the elders who are sometimes killing the aptitudes and also the talent. And therefore, as I said, now that you have reached a stage of achievement, and perhaps you would have many more to achieve further, you could also contribute to the society, because any scientific achievement, as you would have realized by now through your research, becomes viable only on 2 prerequisites. A, it has to be socially applicable. It doesn't have social applicability, it doesn't find takers, and it runs out of time and dies a self-limiting death. And B, it has to be economically viable, because if it is economically sustainable, then, for example, if I am a medical researcher and doing a research in a drug and I lose out on resources, even a multinational pharmaceutical company will come forward to finance my research, and not only finance my project, but also finance my family. So that is the kind of times that we are living in. And therefore, now that you have gone ahead on this course of innovations, you could educate others as well. And I hope when you grow up and when you go further, you would also encourage your own children to follow this, because that is another paradox that we need to unlearn. We expect our neighbors' children to become a scientist and our own children to become a CEO or to become a civil services. And whenever I went during my days in science and technology, everybody would complain, we have dearth of science, young scientists. And therefore one day I asked in Nagpur, I had an answer to that. But the answer is in the form of a question which you would be too embarrassed to answer and I too embarrassed to hear. And therefore you can go home and ask yourself. So everybody looked up to see what I was up to. And I asked them, have ever any one of you asked your own children to become a scientist? And therefore, we have, as I said, I would just say in the end, as I said in the beginning a couple of moments earlier, we are in the best of times. We have the greatest potential. We have a political dispensation which encourages such adventurism, which is not misventurism. And therefore, it is now up to us to decide how best we can make use of this. Once again, congratulations to all the award winners. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for having made me a part of this event. Thank you.